Do you know, excuse me, in June of 1994, did you know any of Nicole's neighbors at Bundy?
No, no,
You know any of their names?
no.
Did you ever speak to any of them?
Yes.
Which ones?
The person who shared the building that she was in, and I had an occasion to briefly talk to the person who lives just north of her. You know, they have a comment, well, just I don't know if they're condos or what, but the one just north of her.
Those are the only two neighbors you recall talking to?
Yes.
And did you talk to them a number of occasions or just once?
The neighbor that shared the building with her,
Yeah.
I talked to from time to time, because our kids would play when he had his daughter, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The neighbor to the north, only Nicole was in an argument with him, and I kind of got into it a little bit, but that was the only time I
was
recall
about
talking
dogs?
to him. Dogs and leaves and dog do.
When was that argument?
In late May,
94?
yes, mid to late May.
Is that when you went over with Jason in the car? I'm sorry, Justin?
I don't believe so.
Was that another occasion?
Yes.
Was that at night?
I was coming over for, I don't know. It was in the afternoon, I do know that. It was light, and it was afternoon.
Did there come a time in, after you split up with Nicole in May, where you told her, as you had did in previous years of your relationship, I don't want to communicate with you except if it relates to the kids?
I don't think I ever, after she yelled at me, I think I told my office, and I think through the office, she got the word. I know she called me after that, and I didn't return her call. So I don't think I've technically ever said to her, I don't want to communicate with you other than through the kids. I think I just started doing it.
Did you ask someone to convey that message for you, such as Kathy?
I don't think so.
And you believe she got that message because why?
Because I wouldn't talk to her, wouldn't receive a call, and she started getting letters from my office.
And she started getting calls?
She got a letter from my office.
One letter, right?
Yeah, and she called off. She called me a couple of times about the tickets, and I didn't communicate with her. I had Kathy communicate with her.
Did Nicole ask Kathy why you were not communicating with her?
I don't know, but Nicole asked her.
Do you know whether Kathy told Nicole that she didn't, you did not want to communicate with her?
No, I don't know that.
Okay, and you, your recollection is that you never said that to her, right?
I just stopped. Yeah, my recollection is I never told her that.
Okay. And what is the date that you began? What is the date that you stopped communicating with her, except for the kids?
I think whatever day she called and yelled at me, it was basically the next day I called and kind of left a message for her, and I might have, I could be wrong, I might have said don't call me in that message, but I think I made it clear to her I didn't want any other communications with, or her communicating with my home or people in my home. And communication is not the right word. Of hassling people in my home would have been a better word.
And you never talked with Nicole again about your call to her or your message to her, right?
No, even though we talked again, but I didn't talk to her again about that.
Okay. No. You heard at Kaylin's deposition, which you attended, some discussion of a dispute between Michelle and Nicole, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me what you know about that dispute?
What? I mean, she had an ongoing dispute with...
Is it true that Michelle quit on account of Nicole?
I don't know if that's...
Is it true that Nicole hit Michelle?
That's correct.
Okay. Tell me about that incident.
The kids were at my house swimming with another kid, or some other kids. And Nicole came over, and I was sitting in the backyard reading, and she came and sat next to me, and she says, I really can't be around here if Michelle's around here. I said, why? She's just cleaning up. She says, well, you know what, she just gets on my nerves. So I went into the kitchen and told Michelle, you know, Michelle, take the rest of the day off, which I'd done on previous occasions. And Michelle said, okay, I just have to make your bed and finish the kitchen. I said, well, just do that and take the rest of the day off. And I came out and I told Nicole, she's just going to finish the kitchen and make the bed, and she's going to take the rest of the day off. And the kids were trying to get me to turn the jacuzzi on, the heater on. So right at that area, I went to the heater for about a minute or two. And when I walked out, Nicole was walking out of the house shaking, saying, she drives me crazy, I hit her. And I said, what do you mean you hit her? She said, OJ, I know it's wrong, but I just can't take that woman, and I hit her. So I walked into the house, and Michelle was coming out of her bathroom, and her face was beginning to show that she had been hit, and was red, and she was crying, and she was trying to call 911, but she was dialing 199. And then when she saw me, she stopped and started venting at me. Look what she did to my face. So I walked out and said to Nicole, what? She was getting the kids out of the pool at that point. I mean, you can't hit people. And she said, I know, I just can't take that woman. And Nicole, as I went through the house, she went around the house, she put the kids in the car, and Michelle was crying, talking to me, and I just went to my office.
What day was that?
I don't know.
What month was it?
March.
1994?
Yes.
Did Michelle continue to work for you, or did she quit after that?
I wouldn't let her stop. Nicole wanted me to fire her, and I wouldn't. And I told her that, and Nicole, that this girl works for me, and she's going to work for me. And she knew in June that if we got back together, she'd move. But at this point, she's going to work for me until she finds another job. If it takes 6 months, she's going to work for me for 6 months. If it takes a week, it'll be a week. But she's going to stay here until she finds another job. Michelle felt that it would be best for her to move on because she knew I wanted the people around, and they were coming around, and she didn't want to be in the way of that. And I think the guy that she had worked for previous to me had coincidentally then called. He was going through a divorce and wanted her to come back to work for him. So she found a job, and then she kind of hung around for 3 weeks to try to train Gigi once they found Gigi, to try to work with Gigi on how to run the house. And then she went to her new job.
Did she leave your employ before you went to Cabo?
I believe so. No, before I went to Cabo, possibly before I went. I'm not 100% sure.
How long had she been with you?
On and off, 10, 12 years.
And she and Nicole had battled before?
Not like this. No, they had disagreements before, but they always stayed friendly. Whenever Nicole, like when we split and Michelle was working for me, I guess Nicole called her on numerous occasions to come over and help her and to babysit for her.
Did you ask Michelle to go get Nicole out of the police car in that 1989 incident?
I don't think I asked her. I think she just did it on her own.
You did not ask her?
I don't believe so, no.
And why did she do that, do you know?
I don't know. Nicole appeared to want to get out of the car. And Michelle was there saying, come back in the house or whatever. And the police were keeping her from getting out of the car. Or this police woman was keeping her from getting out of the car.
You said in your video that you had some financial disagreements with Nicole in 1992 in connection with your divorce. What were they?
She was convinced that she would not have enough money to live the way she wanted to live.
How much did she get a month?
Nothing.
No spousal support?
None.
Just the $10,000 child support?
Well, we had a buyout. We bought out for a lump of money.
How much did you give her?
I don't recall.
What's a ballpark?
I don't know. You'd have to look at I'm sure you got all financial stuff.
The only, was it cash you gave her or real estate or both?
Well, the real estate I had previously given her.
San Francisco
San
place.
Francisco, so it was cash.
Okay.
She expressed to me that she needed to buy a certain house, so we made the deal for her to have a house. Cash between the two properties.
You mean with the cash and with the sale of the San Francisco property, she could buy another place?
She had a choice of buying a place up to whatever worth. I don't know.
Now, you were ordered to pay $10,000 a month?
Yes.
Child support?
Yes.
And you continued to pay that throughout your, throughout Nicole's life?
Yes.
And after she died, did you continue to pay that?
You don't have to answer that. It's irrelevant to anything, any issue in this case, and don't answer it.
I don't think it's irrelevant, but I'm not going to persuade you.
You're learning.
We'll call the judge in Idaho.
Baker's first press conference.
Okay. You said that you did not regard Nicole's activities when she was following you to golf courses, to Mexico, and to the house as stalking. You said that on your video.
Yes. What do you regard as stalking? I really don't know what stalking is. I've never experienced it. And as I pointed out, I didn't think that's, from what I gather, stalking to me is a very negative thing. And I thought Nicole was just trying to get back with a guy that she was in love with, and I didn't feel that she infringed upon my space during that period of time.
You think stalking involves infringing on your space?
Yes, I think when someone makes you very uncomfortable coming around, follow you, and it makes the person being followed very uncomfortable, you know, that has to be an element in stalking.
In May of and June of 1994, were you following Nicole any place?
No.
Did you spend a whole day following Nicole?
No.
Anybody who would say that would be lying, is that right?
Correct.
Do you recall driving by a restaurant on a Tuesday in early June and seeing Nicole and Judy having a meal in a restaurant?
No.
And slowing down and stopping and looking through the glass at them?
No.
That never happened?
Never happened.
Did you ever tell anybody that you molded Nicole?
I can't remember specifically.
Does that sound like something that you might have said?
Nicole and I talked quite a bit, and with friends, about, you know, women and men adjusting to another person. So, I mean, I don't recall specifically saying that, no.
Did you ever tell anybody that you molded Nicole in the sense that you took her as a young woman of 17 years old and turned her into the adult woman that she became?
No, I wouldn't say that's correct. I think in some areas I had some influence on Nicole, yes.
In what areas?
Dress. You know, I don't know.
Besides dress, anything else?
I don't know. I just, in general, I think Nicole and I was a good match for one another, and we probably picked up a lot of things from one another. But communication, I never thought Nicole was a good communicator, and I think she picked up some of, I don't think she ever became a good communicator either, but she certainly got better.
Were you a father figure to her?
I hope not.
Did she ever say that to you?
No.
Did you ever tell anybody in words or substance that you molded Nicole?
I don't believe so.
That's not something that you would say, is that right?
I recall Nicole, I recall at dinners with people, everybody's talking about, Nicole used to always give me credit for, you know, from becoming a beach girl or whatever.
What was
You
the
know.
whatever?
Whatever she was, you know. And those are conversations that when you're out to dinner with couples, people talk about, I guess.
So she would give you credit. You wouldn't take the credit. Is that what you're saying?
I'd like to think that that I had something to do, like she had something to do with who and what I am. I had something to do with who and what she is in areas.
What did Nicole credit you with doing with her?
A lot of things. I think
Besides
just a lot of
dress?
things. Changing her from a beach girl to whatever she was, where she felt relatively comfortable in any environment.
How did you change her?
Exposed her to those things.
To different things?
Yes.
Was it at your suggestion that Nicole had breast implants?
No.
Or breast surgery?
Never been a breast man.
He didn't ask you that.
Did
I
you
know, but I
ever
haven't been.
use the expression titty fairy?
All the time. Still do.
And what do you mean by that expression?
Girls who got tits, I said, what did the titty fairy visited?
Now, did you ever say that the titty fairy visited Nicole?
Yes.
And to whom did you say that?
With Nicole and I was at dinner, to whatever the conversation was. You know, these girls are very, very open about their breast jobs. They leave in a restaurant when Kris Kardashian had hers. Her and Nicole and all the girls went in the bathroom to look at her breasts. And that's what started Nicole thinking about having a breast job. So it's in West LA, it's it's like, hey, look at my breast job, who did this? Look at my breast job, who did yours? It's a kind of and I think all of her friends had breast jobs.
When did Nicole have hers?
Late 80s, maybe it was early 90s, I'm not really sure.
Was not your suggestion?
No.
Did you give your approval?
I told her, just don't make them too big.
When you were in Puerto Rico, did you call Cora Fishman about Nicole's behavior?
I believe I tried to call Cora to find out what was something the matter, or what was going on, but she seemed to be having, I don't know if I ever talked to Cora, because they were having problems. Then Nicole told, you know what, I don't think I called Cora Fishman. I think I called Ron Fishman. I don't think I ever got to talk to Cora Fishman during this period of time.
Did you tell Cora around this period of time, what's going on here? I left Nicole in April. In Cabo, we were like lovers. We were planning to be together. She was going to move in. You know, we had the best sex, you know. She was going to go follow me in Florida, and then she was going to go to Florida because there was a wedding there. She was going to go to Florida, and she was going to go to Puerto Rico with me, and all of a sudden, what happened? What happened?
All of that, I don't think so. But in substance, those were my attitudes during the time I was in Puerto Rico. I don't recall having this conversation with Cora. I do know that Cora and Faye said to me about Nicole, told them what a great couple of weeks we had and how much she was looking forward to meeting me in Florida. But something was going on.
You had made plans to meet in Florida?
She was flying to meet me in Florida for a friend's wedding.
Were you going to go off on a yacht trip too?
No, because I was still working on the movie.
Okay, and was she going to move in?
It was, as I told you, I was, for the first time when I left to go to Puerto Rico, was the first time I thought possibly this relationship could work.
Had you discussed it with her, moving in?
The whole year, she was constantly trying to move in, and I was constantly saying, wait till June.
What I mean to say is, had you and she discussed that now she would, in fact, move in when you got back from Puerto Rico?
The only thing we discussed is that I don't know. I don't think so. I just know when she got rid of Michelle, that was one of her purposes, to get rid of Michelle so that she can move back in. And I know that made me stronger to wait till June. But this last weekend before we went to Puerto Rico was the first time that I really felt that maybe they would move back in. I could let them move back in, or, you know, say, okay.
What did you mean when you said that made me stronger to wait till June?
Because I was, when she hit Michelle, I just, you know, didn't feel that I wanted this. You know, as I said, I wasn't sure that this was going to work, and I wasn't sure that this is what I wanted back in my life.
I'm sorry, wasn't Michelle gone by...
Yeah, 3 weeks later. So when she
So-
hit Michelle, I was dead against her moving back.
No question pending.
Okay.
Yeah, but after Michelle was moved out, you had no further reservation at that point, is that right?
No, the weekend, she came back from Cabo, spent a weekend with me in LA. It's a great weekend. On the way to the airport, I called Lou and Judy Brown and said, you know, you guys, maybe I was wrong, because I had mentioned to them before that I didn't think this was going to work. Maybe I was wrong. So it was the first time in my mind that I felt that possibly it would work out.
This is when you came back from where?
She came back from Cabo. I was on my way to Puerto Rico.
Oh, on your way to Puerto Rico.
Yes, I was actually in a limo, driving in a limo to get on the plane to go to Puerto Rico.
Okay. Now, as of that point in time, had you and Nicole agreed on a date when she would move back in?
Not specifically. I told her we'd give it a year, and after a year, if it was working, they could move back in.
No, I mean at this point in time when you're feeling like the relationship's going to work, you're in the limo, you call the Browns, you tell them, I think this could work. As of that point in time, and before the problems began with Nicole again, did you and she fix a date for her to move back in?
We never fixed a date. It was I told you, it was I said we'd give it a year. At one point, right before she hit Michelle, she had, no question pending, I'm sorry.
Well, you were in the middle of an answer and you haven't answered
No.
the question yet.
No date, no specific date.
Had you discussed a time frame for her moving back in?
Yes,
When was she going to move back in?
a year from the previous Mother's Day. I would give it a year, and then we'd decide if that was.
I'm
would be feasible.
confused. I'm confused. When you said you would give it a year, that was the previous Mother's Day in
Yes.
May of '93, right?
That's correct.
And now we're 1 year later.
Not quite.
No.
We
Not
hadn't gotten
quite.
to Mother's Day yet.
Yes, but you're thinking it's now going to work out, right?
I'm thinking that for the first time, I'm thinking there's a chance
Okay.
that this might work.
It's
Maybe
end
I
of
was
March, early April
Yeah,
of '94.
No, but did you think there was some reason why you couldn't let her move in 11 months later or 10 months later?
wrong. Yes,
What was that?
because I wasn't ready.
Okay, so you and she never fixed a date then, right?
I think I answered that question.
And
About
you-
4 times.
And you and she, did you discuss with her around this time frame that she would move in June or late May of '94?
No,
So you had no discussions about when she would move in April of '94, right?
during April of '94, we had no discussions about her moving in.
Okay, and none in May of '94, right?
In May, certainly none.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when you say moving in, there was subjects about it in May. She said, "Well, you never wanted me to move in."
No, I
You
meant
know, that type
plans
of
to
stuff.
move in.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, can we take a 5-minute break now?
Sure,
East Coast break. Yeah, I think it seems like it can be 4 or 5 minutes.
sure.
This is the end of tape number 1 of volume 7. The time is approximately 2:05, and we are off the record.
In no time in 1994 did Nicole ever come to you to discuss or confide about relationships with other men. Is that right?
No,
True?
that's true. Yes.
On your video, you have some discussion about whether or not Nicole ever purchased gloves for you. Did she ever purchase gloves for you?
I don't believe so.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure about that.
Now, did she purchase gloves for someone else?
You know, it's hard for me I can't answer that. I think one person said she did, but she bought for so many people, I can't tell you what she bought for them, but I know she had a budget, and one person came forward and said that she did.
Who was that?
I'm trying to think of his name. We sent him to the prosecution, I believe. Tom McCullum.
Who was he?
He was a friend of ours.
And he says Nicole bought him gloves?
Yes.
Were those
One-
Aris-like gloves?
I don't think so.
Do you know whether Nicole ever purchased Aris-like gloves?
No.
You don't know that you didn't. You don't know either way, right?
Yeah. Either way.
Did you ever give away Aris light gloves?
Not that I know of.
Did you ever wear Aris light gloves?
I really don't know. I could have.
You ever remember owning a pair?
No.
You remember wearing a pair?
No.
But you could have, right?
Yes.
Did you give away any gloves 1 month before June 12, 1994, within that period of time?
I don't believe so.
What about in the year 1994?
I don't know.
You give any gloves away then?
I don't know.
What
I don't know
about it?
what was in my New York. Get rid of.
When was the last time you gave away clothes before Nicole's death?
January '94.
These were clothes from a New York place?
Yeah.
And who did you give them to?
Some to a guy named Furman, believe it or not. And then the other guys in the building. You know, you put them in big bags and you take them downstairs and, you know, I don't know if they go to Goodwill or the doorman and go through them or what.
What was Furman's first name?
I only knew him as Furman.
You're not saying you gave away a pair of Aris-like gloves to Mr. Furman, are you?
Don't answer that. That's a great question, though.
That's one of the most remarkable
That is remarkable.
things.
That was a great
I couldn't resist.
I understand.
Who is Mr. Furman?
He's a doorman, or I'm sorry, concierge
At where?
at my apartment in New York.
And what's his first name?
I tell you, I don't know.
Still there now?
I believe so.
Do you know whether you gave Mr. Furman any gloves?
I don't know specifically what. I just know I'd put good things in a bag. Sometimes he'd come up and take some real good stuff. Then there'd be a bunch of bags. Some of them get thrown away. Some of them they'd go through. You know, I left it up to him.
Where would you leave the bags?
They'd come up to my apartment. Somebody would come up to my apartment and take them down.
You would call them up?
Yeah.
And say, here, you can...
I got a bunch of junk up here. You guys, if you come and get it. And they come and just grab the bags and...
So you didn't parse out specific items to
No,
people, right?
no, I just basically took out things that I liked, and then everything else went.
Do you recall ever giving away specifically a pair of gloves?
No.
Okay. Do you do this every January?
Yes.
Do you give gloves, do you give clothing away at any other time of the year?
Normally in the summer, sometimes as early as the spring, but normally in the summer when I'm preparing to head back east.
And you give clothes away in Rockingham?
Yep.
And who do you give them to?
Michelle handles that. You know, so much of it goes to my family up to San Francisco, get boxed, or if they're down, they'll drive it up, and some friends, and Goodwill.
And how do you replace these clothes you give away?
With money at stores.
You go and buy them yourself?
Most, yeah.
You told the viewers in your video that the prosecution tried to intimidate various witnesses and get them to change their testimony. Who are these witnesses?
No, to change their testimony, but I felt to skew their testimony from what I got from them. A couple for sure would have been Cora Fishman, Christian Reichhardt.
And how do you know that?
From what they told me.
What did they tell you?
Cora said every time she would answer their questions, they would tell her, "You're not, how could you say that? You're not, I thought you were Nicole's friend." You know, words like that, which didn't sound like they were after the truth to me.
And what about Christian?
Well, Christian told me he literally almost got into a fight with Darden, and you know they had to turn off the thing, and they got into an argument because he was, you know, Darden didn't seem to like what Christian was saying.
About what?
I don't know, whatever the interview was about.
Anyone else tell you that they had been, withdrawn? Did Fishman and Reichard tell you they were intimidated?
I don't know if those are words they used.
That was your word, intimidate?
I thought the attempt was to intimidate, yes.
Okay. And any other witnesses tell you that the prosecutors try to skewer or alter their testimony?
Tell me no, but I just saw conflicting, and I can't name any specifics, but conflicting police reports from when we interviewed people, what those people said.
And from that you drew the conclusion that they were skewered?
Yes.
But no one ever told you
Skewed.
that, right?
Well, that's my word, skewed, yes.
No one ever told you that, right? Those witnesses didn't tell you that, did they?
Oh, I thought no.
Okay. Now, you also said in your video that the district attorney went to a number of your former girlfriends and even offered $200,000 for information. Who did they offer that money to?
I believe they were talking about media and stuff, and maybe it got misconstrued that it was the DA that offered the money. The media had offered the money to virtually to people like Tawny. I think there was a girl named, I can't think of her name, who left a message with Kathy that they had been offering her money. Marguerite, various people were trying to offer them money to tell their story about OJ, but it seems like they all wanted negative stories.
You're telling me that the media, or the tabloid media, was offering this money, right?
Yes.
Not
Yes.
the district attorney, right?
You're correct.
You said on the video that regarding the blood at Rockingham and the Bronco, you were not sure that it was yours. You didn't think it was yours. Words to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Was the blood found in the Bronco and at Rockingham your blood?
I don't know.
Do you think it was your blood?
Personally, no, but
You don't recall depositing blood at the various blood spots where blood was found at Rockingham, is that right?
that's correct.
And you don't recall ever depositing blood in the Bronco where the blood was found?
That's correct.
And if that blood were to be your blood, you have no idea how it got there, is that true?
That's correct.
So, just so I'm clear in this, you don't recall any earlier occasions, that is earlier than June 12, when you deposited blood in the Bronco,
Correct.
or at the various spots at the Rockingham location where blood was found, correct?
Correct.
I have to ask you about the subject of documents because we still haven't gotten anything, and there's a lot of things we requested, including, for example, his own gloves and shoes and various items.
Yeah,
So
we
we'll have
objected to it all.
You've objected to everything, suffice it to say, and we're going to have to take this to the court, and if we get further documents, there will have to be further questions. If we get documents, I should say, because we haven't gotten anything.
How we learned to do this was we looked at your responses to our requests.
No, that's not true.
That's not,
I think you're right, Mr. Brewer.
Okay. Now, on Rosie Greer, when he came to the prison to visit you, well, he did come to visit you, right?
Yes.
You heard reports of a so-called confession that others overheard,
Yes.
okay? Did you tell Rosie Greer that you killed Ron and Nicole?
Don't answer that.
You're not going to let him answer? What's the ground? The privilege?
Yes.
Okay. In all of your discussions with Mr. Greer, did you understand that he was acting as a minister?
Yes.
And it was only in that capacity that you spoke to him?
Yes.
And in any of those conversations, were you ever speaking in a loud or upsetting tone of voice?
I don't know.
You don't know, meaning you could, or you...
Yes, meaning they could have.
And do you recall whether, when you were speaking in a loud or upsetting tone of voice, there were others around who you believe were in a position to hear you?
No, I knew that's not true.
At no time did you ever see anybody around who might have overheard what you were saying to Rosie Greer? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Are you aware of this fellow who came forward and said that he overheard you?
Yes.
Did he?
I don't know.
When you were speaking to Rosie Greer, do you know whether this fellow was present?
No,
What's this person's name? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Do you have his name?
There was a photo opportunity for Ito after that.
Did you read that tabloid report about your telephone call with Mercury Morris?
Somebody told me about it.
Did you have any calls with Mercury Morris since you got out of jail?
No.
When's the last time you've spoken to him?
I believe I ran into him sometime in the mid-'80s. I believe so.
And when was the last time you've spoken to Sugar Ray Robinson?
I did speak to him before he died.
What about, I must have the wrong,
Sugar Ray Leonard, are you
Sugar
talking?
Ray Leonard. Sorry,
Robinson has...
I have the wrong boxer. When was the last time you spoke to Sugar Ray Leonard?
I believe at his wedding,
When was that? Before he went to jail?
before I went to jail.
When
yeah.
did Sugar Ray Robinson die?
I'm thinking the 80s.
Oh, okay. I'll forget that.
Another bubbly.
On your video, you do a demonstration about the lights, and want to make sure I understand that.
It's right in front of you, if you want this one, Dan.
When the lights in the room where the televisions are turned on, can you see those from the front gate at night, the Ashford gate?
No.
Cannot?
No.
Can you see the coach lights in the entryway from the Ashford gate?
That are outside?
Yes.
Yes.
And can you see the kitchen lights?
It depends. Depends
What does that depend on?
what lights are on in the kitchen.
Some lights you can see and some you cannot see.
Correct.
And which ones can you see?
I think if they're all on, you probably can see it, but like a lamp is on, I keep a lamp on there at night. If it's on, you can't see it from the street. And I believe maybe the light around the range, I didn't test around the range, but I would imagine at least from one gate you couldn't see it.
I'm only now referring to the Ashford gate, right?
No, the Ashford gate, I don't think you would be able to tell.
And from the Rockingham gate, could you?
The range, if the range lights are on, maybe.
What are the main lights in the kitchen? Are there some overhead lights?
Overhead lights, yeah.
Now, when those lights are on, can you see those from Ashford?
You should be able to, yes.
And can you see those from Rockingham?
You should be able to, yes.
And when those are off but the lamp is on, can you see that from Ashford?
No,
Can you see that from Rockingham?
no.
If only the range light is on, can you see that from Ashford?
I really don't know about the range light.
And can you see that from Rockingham?
I would think you could from Rockingham, but I'm not sure.
And if the lamp and the range light are on, can you see those from Ashford?
Can't see the lamp from either one.
Okay. What lights, if turned on, could you see from Ashford at night, besides the kitchen and the coach lights?
If my office lights were on, I would think you could see them.
From Ashford?
Yeah, and if my daughter Sydney Brooks' room's lights were on, you should be able to see.
Okay. And can you see the office lights from Rockingham at night?
I don't know. You should be able to, I would think, but I'm not sure if the trees get in the way.
In Sydney's room at night.
Yes.
Now, if you were outside your property in the backyard, could you see the lights on in the kitchen?
You
How
may-
by the pool area?
Yeah.
If the doors are open, you may be able to detect light. You couldn't see the lights, no.
Could you see the lights on withdrawn? If you were outside leaving Kaylin's room and going past the pool and circling around the pathway to the driveway, okay? What lights could you see on the downstairs if they were on?
You should be able to see all the TV room, the living room. If my drapes are not drawn, you should be able to see my bedroom. You should be able to see my bathroom. As you go around the back, as you come around the front, you should be able to see the kitchen, the office, and Sydney's room, and the hallway. If the foyer lights, if there depends what lights are on.
Now, between from the time you got back from McDonald's, by the way, you say on the video that was close to 10 o'clock. In fact, that was 9:30 or so, wasn't it?
I don't believe I said that on the video. I
But it
think I
was close.
disagree with you on that.
Okay. Forget what you said on the video. You came back.
1-800-OJ-TELL.
Could we redact that, Mr. Reporter?
I think it was totally responsive.
Can you? You got back around 9:30 p.m., right?
I believe it 9:35. I don't know.
Okay.
It's somewhere in that area.
From that time to the time when you, right before you came downstairs for the first time, okay? Wasn't asked and answered.
Yes, it was an excruciating
Now I'm
detail.
asking him this following question. What lights in the house were on?
We've gone into that.
No, I've not asked that question. Trust me.
See?
He's got an alarm for every. It's my last part of this area, so.
Certainly my bedroom lights were on. Which ones I can't tell you. I had a lot of different lights in my bedroom. Certainly my bathroom lights were on. I believe my entry lamp was on, and I believe my kitchen lamp was on, because when I close up the house at night, those are the lights I always leave on.
All those lights were on during that interval from roughly 9:35 to, let's say, quarter to 11.
Well, I don't know about 9:35, because at 9:35, maybe most of the downstairs lights were on. I turned them off at some point when I went upstairs to do my final stuff.
Okay, so when you went upstairs to do your final stuff, then you had the lamp light on in the kitchen.
I'm pretty sure they were on, because it's just what I normally do, and I can't imagine why I wouldn't have that night.
The entryway light on inside your house, right?
The lamp entry.
By the
lamp.
way, can you see that from Ashford through the glass of the front door?
No.
Okay. So that's two lights. And downstairs, any other lights on?
I don't believe so.
Okay, and the other lights that were on were in your bedroom and in the bathroom, right?
Yeah, for sure. And in my closet, probably.
Okay.
Go back to 526 then.
I'm done with that, Mr. Baker. We can move on.
You took me too long.
Asked and answered is not an appropriate objection anyway.
The black robe's back on.
Okay. That's that.